Well, hi kids. I am so excited to get to see you today and to continue our lessons about the real Christmas story. We are on week 4, and today we're going to be talking about a character that we don't talk about all that much. We are going to be talking about the selfish king. Do you remember his name? King Herod. Yes, King Herod had an important part of the Christmas story when it came to 3 wise people. Do you remember the story now? Yes, the 3 wise men went to see King Herod. Now, King Herod was a selfish man. He was a selfish king, and he didn't want anybody else to be king. And so that is the background to our story. Now, you'll remember with me that I have my Christmas tree here and my Cats Love Christmas Too stocking, and I have Rudy here to help tell our story. And even though it's the middle of July, or actually the end of July, we are enjoying Christmas in July because it is hot and we need something fun, right? All right. Well, Rudy, how are you today? He's going to jingle his bell because he's having a good day. Are you going to help tell our story? Oh, good. Very good. Rudy, do you remember how? Okay, let's tell everybody out there. Every time you hear me say our main character's name, and today the name is King Herod, you are either going to stand up or sit down, or you can raise your hand or put it down, whatever you want to do, just so that you can help us keep on track as we hear our story. Well, today's Bible story is found in the book of Matthew chapter 2. And this is a part of the real Christmas story. And it focuses on King Herod. Let's practice. There we go. You know, King Herod was the king of Judea, where many of the Jewish people lived. By this time, he was old and sick, and he was not a very good king. He was always looking out for himself and didn't treat his people very fairly. Rather than being a king that ruled because the people respected him and honored him, he was a king that ruled over his people by making them afraid of them. Oh, yes, Rudy, they were very afraid of him. Yeah. One day, King Herod got a visit from 3 wise men who had come from a very long distance. The wise men arrived in Jerusalem and went straight to the palace of Herod. They asked him, "Where is the new king of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose in the east, and we have come to pay him homage. We've come to honor him." Well, King Herod was very confused by these words. After all, he was the king of the Jewish people. Who could these wise men be talking about? Herod asked the priests and philosophers, and they gave him an answer. The new king these wise men were talking about was the Messiah, the one whom God was sending to save the world from their sin. King Herod was angry. He was not excited about the possibility of losing his power, his throne, to a baby. So King Herod made a selfish plan. He was just thinking about himself, right? King Herod told the wise men, "Go to Bethlehem, then come back and tell me where this new king is staying. I want to go worship him also." Well, the truth is, King Herod had no intention of worshiping Jesus. Herod was hoping that the wise men would come tell him where to find Jesus, so that King Herod could send his soldiers to kill this newborn king of the Jews. King Herod selfishly wanted to hold on to that power for himself. He didn't care a thing about Jesus. All he cared about was himself. The wise men left King Herod, and they traveled until they arrived at the home where Jesus was staying in Bethlehem. After they presented him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh, they decided to return home without telling King Herod. This made King Herod even more angry. Yeah, more angry, I know. So King Herod ordered the soldiers to go to Bethlehem and kill every baby boy that was under 2 years old. But God spoke to Joseph and Mary and warned them to leave town before the soldiers arrived. Jesus was safe and sound away from selfish King Herod. You know, selfishness, Rudy, it causes all kinds of problems, doesn't it? Yeah, because we're just thinking about ourselves and we don't take into consideration what's going on with the people around us. It's not a very loving way to live, is it? No, and it's not the way Jesus wants us to live either, right? Right. Well, Rudy, can you tell the kids bye-bye? Bye-bye. He's going to give you a jingle, and he's going to come over here and listen as we look at some of our little note cards here. Thanks, Rudy. Rudy's going to be back with us one more week. Next week, we have one last character to talk about, somebody that's really important to the real Christmas story. Do you know who that might be? Maybe you're right. Well, you know, sometimes during Christmas, I don't know if this ever happens to you, we make a list of everything we want for Christmas. Have you ever done that? You make a really long list, and if you don't get anything on that list, how do you feel? Oh, yeah, you might be upset, right? Or, you know, maybe you get most of the things on the list, but the one thing you wanted, you didn't get. Now, if you decided that your Christmas was ruined because you didn't get the gift you wanted, that wouldn't be the right way to look at it, right? Because Christmas is about Jesus. It's not about getting things. It's about sharing things with others, right? Christmas is not about me. It's about Jesus. And when we get frustrated and angry because we didn't get the gifts we wanted for Christmas, we are making Christmas about us, and we are forgetting to make Christmas about Jesus. Now, from our story, we learned that King Herod was totally focused on himself. He was not focused on anything else. He didn't care about his people. He just wanted to keep his power. And because of that, he wasn't a very good king. And also because of that, Herod missed out on knowing Jesus. Now, think about this with me. Don't you think that if Herod had given Jesus a chance, and Jesus, his followers and his family, don't you think that maybe Herod could have been a better person? Maybe Herod could have found some peace. But all Herod was worried about was losing power. He was selfish. Our scripture lesson for today comes from Philippians 2:3, and it says this: "Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourself." You know, it is hard to do this, isn't it? Isn't it hard to give other people maybe the benefit of the doubt? Then say, you know, instead of making quick decisions about them, maybe we say, you know what? Maybe they actually know more about that than I do. Or maybe the situation they're in is different from my situation. That happens a lot. And that's why they are doing those things or saying those things or acting the way they do. You know, when we live this way, we are being humble and we are being graceful and gracious. And that's really the best way to live. Not to be focused on ourselves all the time, but to remember that the people around us, they also have their own wants and needs and likes and their own experiences. And so sometimes we need to be humble, and often we need not to be selfish. Well, as I said earlier, there is one more week of our lessons on the real Christmas story, and I think you're going to like the last character that we talk about in our story. So I hope that you will join me next week as we finish up this lesson, and I will have an important announcement about our next lessons as well. Have a great week.